Judge yourself by your actions, not by your thoughts. I became significantly less disappointed in myself when I started judging myself only on the actions I took, not the thoughts I had.
So patience is a virtue that I feel like I haven't had. And it's been something that I've spoken over myself for many years. I was like, I'm an impatient person. I want things fast, etc. But when I realized that I should use the same lens that I judge other people on when I judge myself, which is someone might say, I'm a really honest guy. But if I have no evidence that you're an honest person, or when I put you in a situation where you could be honest and you're not, I would say, no, you're not. Now, that person probably thinks of themselves as honest, or to the same degree, I'm a really loyal guy. But as soon as I put a 10 in front of you and you've got your girl at home, you jump. You're not that loyal. You just haven't had the opportunity to show that you're loyal. And so for me, my thoughts about what I thought I was were actually really negative. But when I tried to think, okay, well, I can be patient if I act patient, even if I don't feel patient. And then that allowed me to start giving myself a stack of undeniable proof that I am who I wanted to be. And I don't believe in binary traits, meaning like he's patient or he's impatient or he's loyal or he's disloyal. The question is, how loyal are you? How honest are you? How patient are you? And by switching the character traits that I wanted to have into progressions or continuums allowed me to make progress on them simply by giving myself more proof, or one more penny on the scale that says I'm a little bit more patient than I was. I'm a little bit more patient. I'm a little bit more patient, to the point where I have so many pennies on the scale that I can say, I think I am pretty patient. Even though every time I put a penny on the scale, I don't want to put a penny on the scale. I want to get the thing to happen today. I want it to happen yesterday, because why is it taking so long? It didn't take that long for this person. I feel like I work harder than them and I feel like I'm better than them. Why am I not doing that? But I put the penny on the scale.
Well, ultimately, what is patience? Is patience feeling patient, or is patient doing the thing that is patience? So Sam Harris, in his first conversation with Jocko Willink about 10 years ago, they talk about how courage is an unfakeable emotion. And it's such a good frame. You're going to love this.
Yeah.
So he said, if you do the thing in spite of being fearful of doing the thing, that is courage. And if you don't do the thing, even though you felt like doing the thing, that is cowardice. And I think that motivation and patience are exactly the same. If you're patient, despite not feeling patient, that is patience.
Yes.
That is how it works.
And that realization that you just said was the reason for that quote, because it was me realizing that I can actually have these traits, even if I don't feel like I live those traits. And so that's why probably, at least for me, when people are like, whatever the trait is, like, he's so humble, he's so whatever, like, you probably will never feel like you have the trait, but you can still have the trait based on evidence rather than emotion. And I think that frame of evidence has been, if I had a North Star of personal development for myself, it's been just give myself proof. And in so many ways, like the reason that I didn't, I'm going to go on a tangent, but again, I'll bring it back. I didn't talk about how to run gyms until I had 6 gyms, because I didn't feel like I was qualified enough to talk about it. And I only started talking about gyms when so many people were like, dude, how do you run your gyms? How do you run your gyms? And if I rewind even before that, I didn't feel qualified to talk about fitness, but I had had a 6-pack for a decade, you know what I mean? And I had multiple state records, but I still didn't feel qualified to talk about fitness until everyone was like, dude, how do you do this? How do you strength train? How do you eat this way? Whatever it is, right? And so if you can give yourself evidence, the world around you, like fame, like your evidence will change how people treat you, independent of how you feel about it.
Well, this is why the must be easy, must be nice is so flawed, because what you're saying is, I see the outcomes and I have no idea of the difficulty of the inputs. I have absolutely no idea what barriers you need to get over. You could find it 99 out of 100 difficult to be patient. And yet you are. Must be nice for you. You've got that patience gene. You go, eat shit. Eat shit. You have no idea how hard it is for people to do the things that they do. And the people that make it look easy, in some regards, contribute to this problem. Like, and this is why I really love, I'm a massive fan of a lot of your work. And I think that one of the reasons is that it's so honest and self-effacing about the challenges and about the steps that you have to get through. And because the journey is relatively well narratized and you can track it step by step, and you've created a kind of a cohesive timeline of how all of this stuff worked, there is a point along specifically your journey, but hopefully mine and other people's too, where people can inject themselves and say, oh, I'm at that bit. I'm the 15-year-old that I'm at that bit. I resent my parents.
Yeah.
I've just lost all my money. I feel like I need to, like you have every different problem that you can encounter in life is present in Alex's timeline. And I think that that's really important. I think this is one of the, I would say this is a criticism that I have about some of the personal development, self-growth, and a lot of the business advice as well. Even the bad times are romanticized. And they're not fucking romantic. Like, it feels like hell. It feels like shit to do the thing, to fail, to not feel like anybody cares about you, to not even know that there's going to be glory in retrospect.
Yeah.
It feels despondent and destitute and sad and alone. And I get it. And I think that the more visceral that we can make these stories, the better it is, because I know that that's what would have resonated with me, because I would have gone, that's an undeniable stack of proof that you were where you said you were.
I'll tell you one that maybe will resonate with somebody in the audience. So I remember when I decided to move, so I moved to California to start a gym or get into fitness. And I got there, and the guy who I said I was going to mentor under was like, "Where are you staying?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just got here." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't know?" I was like, "I don't know. I just showed up." And so he said I could sleep at his place that night. The next morning, went to the gym, and he got on a chair and said, "Hey, who here is going to house this kid?" And one guy came up to me, he was like, "I'll give you a room." So I rented one room in a house for $400 a month. And then when I left that room to start sleeping at the gym, which was an hour away because I couldn't make the commute, so I saved $400 a month. I remember being actually kind of excited about it. I remember being like, man, this is going to be a sick story. Yeah, this is my Rocky cutscene, right? But the thing is that the Rocky cutscene lasts 30 seconds in the movie, but it can last 5 years in your life. And when I was sleeping on the gym floor, I'll give you a detail that'll tell you that the stack of undeniable proof was that my first gym was underneath of a parking garage. And so there's these metal dividers in the ceiling. And so cars would drive over this, and it's a concrete box. And so it sounded like a gunshot, like, and it would happen at all hours of the night. And probably the most painful from an emotional perspective experience that I would have on a regular basis was that it was also abandoned enough parking a lot that college kids my age, would go up and party on the roof. And so like while they were partying literally above my head and making noise that would prevent me from sleeping, I would be down below in a dark warehouse in a city that I knew no one. Like, I was from Baltimore. I drove across the country. I went to Huntington Beach. I literally knew no one, and no one knew me. And so I'm sleeping there, and then I realized that I can't really sleep at night. And so I'm living on naps for the first 6 months of the gym. And like homeless people are sleeping in my parking lot, and I have to like go out and tell them to like go away. And then I get back, lock the door, and I go back on the AstroTurf, which is where I slept with a blanket and a pillow. And I bring this up because like the visceral feeling that you go through when you're going through the mound of shit period, or the shit eating, what feels like a marathon, is that it becomes a 30-second soundbite in my story.
Yeah.
But it was years. And so like, even to the same degree, people are like, man, you're such a natural salesman. The first job I ever got offered out of college was a sales job. And I said, I'm not a salesman, I'm an academic. Ugh. And then as soon as I opened my gym, I was like, oh shit, how do I pay rent? And someone walked in the door and I was like, please give me money. I promise. And I had no equipment in my gym because I couldn't afford any. So it's an empty gym with just turf. And I was like, I promise you, I will get you amazing results. And they were like, are you going to be here tomorrow? And I was like, I sleep here. I have to be here. I promise I'll be here. Right?
It's impossible for me to not be here.
I can't leave. Right. And so the early people took pity on me when they literally paid the first 29 members I signed up in the first 2 weeks before the gym opened was from pity. It wasn't from charisma. It was pure pity. I'll be real with you. And it was the exact amount that I needed to pay rent. And I remember the first month of rent that I paid this is actually wild. I only looked at this in retrospect. I made exactly $4,972 my first month of my gym. My rent was $4,972. And I remember working like a dog to get that. I'd never made money in my life. Like I'd never like really asked anyone for money. And all of a sudden I had to come up with $5,000 in a month. And then at the end of the month, I watched it go to zero. And then I was like, I have to do it again. And that was when like the reality of the situation of like, there was no escape. There was no one who was going to come to save me. And I couldn't blame my dad. I couldn't blame my mom. I was the one who had chosen this life. But the alternative was that I had to go back to my father, a failure, and have him look me in the eyes and say, I told you, and come here, don't worry about it. I told you this gym stuff, this fitness stuff, this starting your own business, it's for later. It's fine. Just go back. Hey, you've got this great degree. Just go to the business school to do the thing. And I knew exactly what had happened. But what would have happened after that is that for the rest of my life, he would have had absolute authority over everything that I did. And that felt like death. And so that was what I ran away from when I was in that moment. Like whenever I felt like my back was against the wall and I didn't know what to do, and it felt like the Instagram reels of like the motivation weren't going to get me through what I was going through because no one cared that I was sleeping alone. I let them know I'm sleeping on the floor. And a month later, when you're still sleeping on the floor, everyone's like, don't care. Like, great. You're pursuing your dream, right? Early days.
Yeah.
But despite that, the must be easy mantra is the easiest indicator that you have a victim mindset. Because what it means is, I can't achieve this thing because on some level, if you say must be easy, there's some level of desire that's there. You're like, I'd like to achieve some aspect of this. And then rather than feel the pain of saying that I'm inadequate or I'm not taking action, we cast our inadequacy on some outside object or some outside circumstance. And by doing that, we remove all agency and all power that we have over our lives. And for me, I would rather be somebody who has absolute power and have nothing to show for it than somebody who has all the things to show for it, but know that I'm life's bitch.
Life being one protracted training montage is a really important lesson to learn. The fact that in the Rocky movie, it is 90 seconds and then everything is fixed. And that can last for decades. That can last for years. And I think that the lack of glory, the lack of certainty, it makes it turns it from worthwhile majesty into it's not even sufficiently triumphant to be called sad. Like it's just like weak and pissy and you have no idea if anything's going to work. But what's the alternative? Entropy is going to come and fucking get you. So what's the alternative? Like my Twitter bio says locally reversing entropy. Yeah. And I think that really is what you should try and do because it's going to fucking come for you.
The lack of certainty is what actually makes it worth it. And so here's my point. Let's consider the alternative, which is that you are on the path and you are guaranteed to know that you're going to get the outcome. All of the mystery is gone. There is no excitement, which is why they said, in the the ancient Greeks would say that the gods always envied the mortals because their life was so ephemeral. They had so much chance that could happen to them, right? Where the gods always knew that they weren't going to die and it was completely guaranteed. And so what we do is we basically have this wish that if it actually came true, we would hate it even more than our current circumstance. If you knew that you were going to succeed, it wouldn't be worth doing to begin with. The fact that you are uncertain when you start is what makes it worthwhile. And the fallacy of being in the pursuit is the worry or the concern that it won't amount to anything because who you are becoming is the thing that you are amounting to in real time every day.